And welcome back to another Travels of Red Rover. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Corinne.
And this trip finds us in the Painted Hills.
Part of the John Day Fossil Beds National Monument.
Yeah, we decided to come out here because it has been starting to get a little bit cooler, although we're dealing with some wind and dust.
Yes, and there have been some forest fires, unfortunately, in this area, so we are getting the remnants of smoke blowing this way.
Yes, and I'm getting to chew on Corinne's hair. So anyway, this is a national monument.
It's in Central Oregon.
And it is absolutely beautiful out here. I consider the National Monument some of my very favorite places to go. Often the scenery in that is as good as, if not better than, anything you'd find in a national park. And often the national monuments are free. And
they're a lot less crowded. It's good to have a national park pass because they do sometimes request a fee at some of them. So it's depends on which one you're visiting.
Yes, but it is nice. If you do have the annual park pass, that gets you in for the low price of $0.
So this park is focused on geology, and there's several strata of different rocks and some volcanic depositions, and then there's been some shifting and uplifting of faults, and so a lot of the rocks get angled on a slant.
Yeah, and there is these large depositional beds that are absolutely gorgeous. They're a whole bunch of different colors, including reds and greens and various shades of greens. And a number of them are marked in ways that make them look like moving organisms down in the bottom, giant oozing centipedes and tentacles of octopus and that. So there's lots of interesting geology to look at and things for the kids to do as well.
There's a few short hiking trails nearby, and there's a nature trail down by what's called the Painted Hills Cove. Unfortunately, you can't get to the reservoir from this side because there's some private land by the Painted Hills Cove, so you can't cross the private land.
Yep, and there's some porta potties located in the picnic area. The picnic area is a large grassed area. It's quite lovely. Also well shaded for those hot days.
Yes, we're using the shade and the cool temperatures here just before we head out for some sunset or evening photography.
Yeah, we're thinking that the best of the photography will actually be before sunset tonight, but we're not absolutely positive, and we'll just have to see how that all goes.
We came by earlier today to scope some of it out and check out what would be the best angles, because we just weren't sure whether the hills were north facing or south facing or east or west, and sometimes you just have to get your own eyes on it to predict what it's going to look like at different times of the day.
Yep, and a little bit of work with the app TPE, and we're fairly certain that as I say, it's going to be late afternoon, early evening shots.
And we might get a little color from some clouds up ahead. It's not quite certain. It could just be some of the smoke.
Yeah, the problem with the smoke is sometimes it gives you a very ugly green sky in the evening, and you just never know until the sky starts to happen. So we got our fingers crossed it'll be nice. If not, oh well, we'll have a great time.
Yes, so we'll show you what the results of our evening.
Yeah, I'm sure that we'll have a little bit more discussion about our photography as well, because we do have some very strong winds to contend with tonight.
There's a lovely picnic area here at the Painted Hills unit of the John Day Fossil Beds National Monument. Lovely grass and picnic tables and shade trees, so it'd be a great spot to come for a little picnic. We've stopped here at the Painted Hills Overlook trail. There's a trail going up there. It's about a half a mile, and it gives you a viewpoint from higher up. And over here to the left, and looking a little bit more northward, are the Painted Hills. And you can just see how smoggy that sky is back behind them from all the nearby smoke from forest fires that are out by Mount Jefferson. And then looking back this way, there's a little shade cover with some benches for relaxing, and the parking lot's over that way. Well, we've come down to a spot midway between the Overlook, where we took a look from above, and the picnic area. And we're working on some compositions that show up the patterns of the striping in the hills behind us, up here. And you can't get too close to these hills. We're just at the side of the road because we have some barbed wire fencing here, and we have to stay out from the interior of this fence. So we're just standing here by the side of the road. Unfortunately, there's enough late evening tourists that we're getting a little dusted here, in addition to finding it quite smoky. So I'm not sure how the conditions are going to look for any photography tonight. The sun's still another, half an hour before it gets behind the hills, maybe an hour.
As Corinne was saying, we're out here at the side of the road. She's been taking pattern shots with a little larger lens. I'm, on the other hand, trying to do some big panoramas. I just like the way the lines all link up right across the entire hill there. Excuse me. Excuse me, the smoke is just really getting bad here. I just really enjoy how the lines line up, and hopefully the panorama will catch that a little bit. So here's the photograph I took using sort of my standard settings. As you can tell, it came out very miscolored, and despite quite a lot of work to try to repair it, it still looks pretty hideous. Normally I wouldn't show this, but I thought this would be a nice educational moment.
This is a view down toward where the entrance is, and you can just see how foggy it seems, smoky and dusty from all the particulate matter in the sky. You can barely make out the lines of the taller hills in the background that are up here. And then there's some lower hills just beyond the one with the tree on it. And here's some of the hills behind us from our vantage point where we're working this evening. And there's an ugly glow around the sun there. So not the best atmospheric conditions for photography tonight, but we're doing what we can with what we have to work with. Well, we've decided to pack it in tonight. Things aren't getting any better, and as we sit here, the sun, which is back over behind us here, is not really getting any better. It's just sort of fading into the dust and not creating any more contrast on the fins that come out of the hills. So we're going to pack it in for tonight. We're going to come back and try fairly early tomorrow morning after the sun's up high enough to actually give us a little contrast on the hills. But not. Well, good morning, everybody. Well, we're back at the Painted Hills this morning. Skies are looking a lot bluer. It's still pretty smoky, but it's not nearly as bad as it was yesterday. And although the light's kind of in the wrong place, we are getting a much nicer look at the Painted Hills this morning. So we're going to try some photography this morning, have our breakfast, and then off for our next adventure. Corinne is heading off to another spot that she found a little while ago that she liked a little better than this one, and she's going to try to get some photographs from there. I think I'm going to stick it out here because I'm liking the way the shadows are starting to form right in here. So I'm going to go and try to
photograph those as soon as it just lightens up a little bit more. So we'll have to see how all that comes out.
So we've moved down the fence line a little bit more toward the north, and that's given us more of an angle towards the hillsides. So it's kind of attractive in that there's a bit of a wash leading up toward the colorful hills, and also that lower hill that was close to us is now to the far right, so it's not interfering with the flow of the other hillsides that are more on a level plane with one another.
So as Corinne just said, we've moved down the fence line, and it actually is giving quite a lovely composition, shooting up the wash towards the fins that come down from the hills. And it was a really good suggestion on Corinne's part. It really actually helps me overcome one of my really big weaknesses, and that is tripod legs. When my tripod goes down, that's as far as my legs will go. And that can be a real issue sometimes, because I'll be just a little ways away from a much better composition and just don't pick my tripod up and move it along. So that's something to be very aware of, is if you're not changing compositions and you might want to think about picking your tripod up and moving around a little bit more. Or alternatively, one of the ways I get by it is to do a lot of walking back. I literally pace back and forth when I'm getting close to an area that I like. And occasionally we'll take the camera off the tripod and move the camera and me around. And that sort of helps me get beyond getting locked down to the tripod legs. So something for you to think about. And we're going to take a few more shots, and then we're going to be moving on.
Well, thanks for joining us on another photography adventure.
We had a great time out here at the Painted Hills, even despite the smoke and dust. So it was still definitely a spot worth visiting.
Yes, I'm sure it looks lovely all seasons of the year, so it won't matter when you come by, you'll get some great photos. I think that it's a interesting location and a little bit off the beaten track.
Yeah, we found it, even though there's been a fair number of people coming in and out, the reality is it's not heavily populated, and you really can do some lovely hiking and photography here.
So thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you would like to see more of our videos, please consider subscribing.
And if you want to know when we release videos, please hit that notification bell. And as always, don't hesitate to leave us a comment, a thought, or an idea. We love hearing from you and try to respond to everybody. Again, thank you for joining us today, and bye for now.
Bye for now.
We're going to end this week's video with a little photo tour of the Painted Hills. We hope you enjoy it.